Chapter 567 to 568. Orochimaru muttered with a playful smile, "Oh, from the rumors of the nine-tailed demon fox?" Because in this verse he defected earlier than in the canon, so Orochimaru personally doesn't know anything about Naruto's upbringing in Konoha. All his knowledge and understanding about the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi comes from the intelligence transmitted to him by the spies lurking inside the village. And after this conversation with Naruto, Orochimaru found out that the kid is simpler than he had initially thought. Rather, it should be said that Naruto is much more stupid than Orochimaru had initially assumed. Aside from his physical appearance, this kid doesn't really look like that man's son. Seeing Orochimaru looking at him silently, Naruto shouted, "It doesn't matter what everyone thinks of me. It doesn't matter that you look down upon me. I will prove that I am as good as just about anyone. No, I am going to prove that I am even better, and then nobody will be able to ignore me anymore, and everyone will acknowledge me. Everyone will respect me, you know?" Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and questioned, "And how do you plan on doing that?" Naruto declared loudly, "Since Hokage is the most respected person in the village, then I am going to become the greatest Hokage there is. When I become the greatest Hokage, everyone will respect me." Orochimaru's snake-like eyes stared at Naruto, and his thoughts gradually drifted past. True, Orochimaru has never been interested in the position of Konoha's Hokage, and honestly speaking, Orochimaru's interest mainly lies in exploring the mysteries of ninjutsu as well as pursuing eternal life and immortality. But this does not mean that he is indifferent to the partiality Sandaime Hokage showed towards Konoha's Yellow Flash, which resulted in Orochimaru's loss against Namikaze Minato in the Yondaime Hokage's election. Therefore, the reason for Orochimaru's resentment towards Konoha and Hokage is not the fact that he didn't become the Yondaime Hokage, but the disapproval of Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was his sensei, and the humiliation of losing to the disciple of his former friend, who is supposed to be a junior. In Orochimaru's heart, he may not have wanted to become the Hokage, but you still have to give the position to him, even if just for satisfying his ego. But Sandaime Hokage didn't do this. He directly ignored Orochimaru and chose Namikaze Minato as his successor, causing Orochimaru's feelings to become distorted towards his sensei and the Konoha village, and prompting him to finally let go of almost all the factors that were stopping him from treading the path of no return. With these distorted feelings of his, Orochimaru planned out the Konoha crush in the canon. And truthfully speaking, his objective behind the Konoha crush wasn't actually the destruction of Konoha. Rather, it was his unique attempt of venting out his dissatisfaction against his sensei. But in the end, Orochimaru didn't really care whether his Konoha crush plan succeeds or not, and Konoha is destroyed or not, because if he did, he wouldn't have secretly killed off the Yondaime Kazekage just a few days prior to the launch of the plan, as Yondaime Kazekage could have been a great ally in the plan. By secretly killing the Kazekage and posing as him, Orochimaru forcibly created a one-on-one fighting situation against his sensei and stopped others from interfering, then used the forbidden jutsu to resurrect the Hokages of the previous generation, which forced Sandaime Hokage to fight against both of his former senseis, Shodaime Hokage and Nidaime Hokage, and also helplessly watch the destruction of the village. This kind of ritualistic behavior is nothing but venting out his dissatisfaction towards his sensei. "You didn't give it to me, right? Then I will destroy it right before your helpless eyes using the very people you respected the most." This is his entire thought process behind the Konoha crush. But on the night a few days ago, when he saw the village getting flattened by Tendo Pain's Shinra Tensei, Orochimaru suddenly felt lost. When he realized that what he was seriously planning for turned out to be nothing more than a momentary thought for someone on the level of Nagato, he suddenly lost interest in destroying Konoha and venting out his dissatisfaction against his sensei. Or it can even be said that his dissatisfaction against his sensei was vented out on that night together with the destruction of the village. and all that Orochimaru cares about now is uncovering the mysteries of ninjutsu and pursuing eternal life. While Orochimaru was busy in his thoughts, Naruto called out, "Orochimaru, why did you bring the two of us here?" Naruto's yell pulled Orochimaru out of his train of thought. He glanced at Naruto for a moment, then the corner of his mouth perked up unconsciously. As a former member of the Akatsuki, Orochimaru was quite clear about Akatsuki's intentions of capturing all the 9 Biju. Although he didn't know what they were going to do to control them, he can more or less guess. And in the past few months, his doubts have become more and more clear, especially after the news of Nagato being able to absorb Biju chakra inside the Gedo statue has been made public. Orochimaru doesn't know what exactly will that wooden statue become after absorbing all the 9 Biju. No matter what it is definitely not something that he wants the Akatsuki organization to bring to life. As such, Orochimaru really wants the Akatsuki organization to fail in its goal of collecting the 9 Biju. At this time, Kabuto walked into the dark and damp cave. He came by Orochimaru's side and whispered lightly, "Orochimaru-sama, the Akatsuki organization has leaked news through the black market. They seem to be interested in a hostage exchange with us." Orochimaru became curious and questioned, "What is your opinion about their intentions?" Kabuto thought a little, then replied while pushing his glasses on the bridge of his nose, "I think they are not sincere enough. Their so-called interest in hostage exchange is probably just a ruse. And what's awaiting us at the site of hostage exchange will most likely be a deathly trap." Orochimaru nodded. "I feel the same." Kabuto asked tentatively, "So, how should we respond, Orochimaru-sama? Should I just ignore them, or—" With a bit of hesitation, Orochimaru instructed, "Promise them." Kabuto wasn't very surprised, for he knew full well how much Orochimaru wants to obtain Uchiha Sasuke from the Akatsuki organization before the Uchiha clan. So after a little consideration, he said, "Orochimaru-sama, let me take care of the hostage exchange. You don't need to personally take such a risk. Anyway, with Sasori on their side, perhaps I can still act as a double agent." "You are misunderstanding something, Kabuto-kun," said Orochimaru with a grin as he muttered, "How can I give them the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi?" Kabuto was taken aback for a moment and questioned, "Does that mean you are giving up on Uchiha Sasuke?" But immediately shook his head, and as if the thought of something, he reacted, "No, that's not the case. You want to use this opportunity of hostage exchange to secretly snatch Uchiha Sasuke from their hands while not letting go the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi." Orochimaru didn't have the opportunity to respond to Kabuto, because when Naruto heard Kabuto mentioning the name Uchiha Sasuke, he immediately said, "Hey, what do you want to do to Sasuke, don't you know? His brother Itachi is a very powerful shinobi. If you dare to bully him, he will definitely not let you go so easily." "Uchiha Itachi, huh?" At the mention of Itachi's name, some bad. Memories clicked in his mind, but Orochimaru snorted coldly and asked in his magnetic hoarse voice, "Boy, do you want power? Do you want to become stronger?" Naruto gave Orochimaru an "Are you an idiot? Look," and replied in an obvious tone, "Of course I do. Is there even a need to ask such an obvious question?" Orochimaru's forehead twitched upon receiving the "Are you an idiot? Look." But he ignored that annoyance and spoke after turning around. "Then follow me. From now on I will guide you in ninjutsu." Although Orochimaru wants to obtain Uchiha Sasuke, he doesn't want to give Uzumaki Naruto to the Akatsuki. But at the same time, Orochimaru knows that this is not easy, considering Akatsuki's strong lineup. So, Orochimaru thought about it, and finally reached the conclusion that as long as the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi is strong enough, capturing him will become difficult for the Akatsuki. This means training Uzumaki Naruto and making him capable of protecting himself is the best way to hinder Akatsuki's plan. As for the question of whether Uzumaki Naruto will become strong enough to protect himself from the Akatsuki. Uzumaki Naruto is the son of Konoha's Yellow Flash and Red Hot-Blooded Habanero, both of whom were incredibly talented people in their own rights. Therefore, as their son, he has to have inherited their talent. And Orochimaru himself is also very confident in his ability to train disciples. There are very few people whom Orochimaru has taught earnestly, and without exception, each one of them has become excellent shinobi without exception, whether it is Hyuga Kuroto, Yakushi Kabuto, or Kaguya Kimimaro. Therefore, Orochimaru believes that if Uzumaki Naruto, being the son of those two, and the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi receives his earnest teachings, the kid wouldn't fall behind any of those three. Naruto was surprised at Orochimaru's sudden words. He even believed that he had heard it wrong, and couldn't help but ask again, "Orochimaru, did you really say what I heard you say? Do you really have no problem teaching me ninjutsu?" In Konoha, there are only a handful of people who are willing to talk to Naruto and treat him normally, not to mention someone who is willing to teach him. This is why, when he heard Orochimaru was willing to teach him, he was deeply moved in his heart. Although he never said it, Naruto has always been very envious of Sasuke, who has a family caring about him and many people willing to teach him. Yes. Orochimaru nodded slightly and immediately walked out of the cave without giving Naruto any more chance to speak. Receiving a positive reply, then watching Orochimaru's back disappear, Naruto instinctively wanted to follow, but considering Hinata, whom he was protecting until a while ago, he hesitated. Hinata noticed Naruto's desire and also his hesitation out of her consideration, so she slowly let go of Naruto's sleeve she was holding up to now and said lightly, "It's okay, Naruto-kun. Go ahead. I will be fine." Although she was scared, she could see in Naruto's eyes that he really wanted to follow Orochimaru. Naruto still hesitated slightly. He didn't even know what to say. Leaving her alone here didn't feel right to him. At this time, Kabuto said with a smile, "Don't worry, Naruto-kun. Hinata-sama will be all right. I will take care of her. And more importantly, you have gotten a chance of being personally taught by Orochimaru-sama. Don't miss it. There are many who hope to be taught by Orochimaru-sama, but not everyone can get such a chance even in their lifetime." Hinata also added lightly, "Yes, Naruto-kun. I have heard that Orochimaru-sama is one of the legendary Sannin, a shinobi who was once a candidate for the Yondaime Hokage-sama. I don't know why he left the village, but he should be a very strong person. So, if you want to become Hokage, then he can definitely teach you something." Under the persuasion of Kabuto and Hinata, Naruto finally nodded. "All right. But don't be afraid. Your family will definitely come to rescue you." Hinata nodded lightly. Yes. With Hinata's nod, Naruto no longer hesitated and chased after Orochimaru's back. With Naruto gone, Kabuto said to Hinata, "Hinata-sama, you don't have to worry. The Hyuga clan has contacted us. Once the conditions are negotiated, we will let you go back." Hinata nodded absent-mindedly because, at this time, she didn't seem to care about her situation. She lightly glanced at Naruto from time to time and asked, "Kabuto-san, Naruto-kun, he will be fine, right?" Kabuto pushed his glasses and replied, "That is, of course. Even Orochimaru-sama will try to mess around with the Kyuubi." In a dark and dingy room, Sasuke, who was tied to one of the two wooden posts, twisted his body slightly, then questioned Neji, who was tied to the other wooden post next to him. "Hey, Neji, you don't seem to be moving at all. Don't you feel numb even after being tied up for the past 3 days?" Neji glanced at Sasuke for a moment, then turned back without giving any answer. It didn't seem that he was in the mood of doing so. "Humph." Sasuke snorted, then muttered to himself, "That's right, I get it. They must have tied you much looser compared to me. After all, I am different. I have awakened the Sharingan. To them, I am a much bigger threat compared to you." Neji coldly said, "Yes, you have awakened the Sharingan, and you are a different type of genius from everyone else. But so what? Aren't you also tied up here just like me?" Neji then took a pause and whispered lightly, "Besides, if we are talking about our ability to remove these bindings and escape, then as a Hyuga who is capable of seeing nearly 360 degrees and having an innate ability to expel chakra from every tenketsu in the body, I am much more of a threat to them compared to you. That's why they took the trouble of using chakra sealing cuffs on us." "You?" Sasuke was left speechless and fell into silence. Neji didn't say anything either. With the two kids not speaking anything, an awkward silence stretched into the room, and in this quietness, the two kids were able to hear each other's breathing and heartbeat. After a long time, Sasuke couldn't bear it any longer and broke the silence. "Don't be afraid. My Otu-san and Nisan will definitely come to rescue me. When they do, you will be safe too." Neji opened his mouth and seemed to be wanting to say something, but in the end, he couldn't find any right words and said with a sigh, "Then perhaps I should say, thank you, I guess." Although the two kids regard each other as rivals, they did not forget that they are companions from the same village and have been caught up in a difficult situation. Communication has always been one of the best ways to relieve stress and fear that are out of control. So after this brief conversation, the pent-up anxiety of the two seemed to be relieved a little. Moreover, at this time, Sasuke is far from becoming the introverted and brooding kid as shown in the canon. So after his anxiety was somewhat relieved, he immediately opened up the chatterbox and questions with a curious tone, "Hey, Neji, you seem to be worried about something other than escaping here, right?" "What is it?" Neji muttered lightly. "I am worried about Hinata-sama." "Oh, so you are worried about your sister?" Sasuke nodded in realization and muttered, "Now that you mention it, I am also worried about Kiyomi. I just hope she is safe with Okasan." Then he shook his head and said to Neji, "Hyuga Hinata should be with Naruto. Although Naruto is an idiot, he is still trustworthy. I believe Naruto will definitely not let anything happen to her. Moreover, isn't she the heiress of the main family of the Hyuga clan? So your Hyuga clan will also try their best to rescue her, so you don't really have to worry about her." "Yes, the clan will try their best to rescue Hinata-sama." Neji nodded in agreement at the same time. A lonely look appeared on his face. Neji knows that between him and Hinata, the entire clan will give priority to rescuing Hinata. Even his father wouldn't be an exception. And this is perfectly understandable after all. The branch family exists to protect the main family. Whether as a brother or a member of the branch family, Neji too hopes that Hinata remains safe and safely returns back to Konoha. But at the same time, the such difference also made him feel uncomfortable and lonely. Because, seeing Neji's state, Sasuke realized something and whispered lightly, "Does that mean no one will come to rescue you?" Neji didn't really have an answer to Sasuke's question and can only say in a self-convincing tone, "Maybe my sensei will come." Sasuke's ears perked up and he asked curiously, "Do you already have a sensei? Who is it? Is he good?" "Of course, he is good. Rather, he is amazing. My sensei is Hyuga Kuroto. He is one of the strongest jonin in Konoha." As Kuroto's disciple, Neji has obviously done his fair share of research about Kuroto's deeds. As such, he does have some information about Kuroto. Moreover, Neji's father also greatly respects his sensei and often mentions Kuroto, so Neji also has great respect for his sensei. Be that as it may, Neji also knows that no matter how great his sensei is, no matter how powerful his sensei is, it would still be impossible for his sensei to save him. After all, the ones who have kidnapped him are the Akatsuki organization. The very same Akatsuki organization that has frightened the entire shinobi world. So, unless his sensei is a member of Amatsukami, rescuing him will be impossible for Kuroto. Before Sasuke could say anything, suddenly a voice came from the corner wall of the room. So it turns out that the guy Hyuga Kuroto is your sensei? The sudden voice shocked Neji and Sasuke because they couldn't even sense the presence of the other party. The room in which they are being held as captive is not too big, and both of them have been constantly paying attention towards the only door leading to the room. And as far as they can see or sense, no one came in or gone out in the past 3 days since the two of them were brought here. So it is quite shocking for them to hear someone's voice out of nowhere. The two kids turned their heads, following the source from where the voice came, and discovered that the one who spoke was a strange man wearing Akatsuki's traditional cloak and a red mask with black patterns. The person who suddenly appeared in the room is naturally Madara, and the reason he came here was just out of curiosity towards the young Uchiha brought back by Kabuto. Madara has also heard of the name Uchiha Sasuke, who managed to awaken the Sharingan at the young age of 7 and wanted to observe him. In the Uchiha clan, the age of awakening the Sharingan also determines the basic talent of the person in question, and the fact that Uchiha Sasuke awakened the Sharingan at such a young age made him qualified to enter the field of vision of Madara. He wanted to observe Uchiha Sasuke for a while, and then decide on what to do with him. However, what he never expected was that the identity of the other child brought back by Kabuto turned out to be quite useful. The child from the branch division of the Hyuga family happens to be the disciple of Hyuga Kuroto. Neji vigilantly looked at Madara and questioned, "Do you know my sensei?" Madara didn't give an answer to Neji, but looked at him curiously. His cover in the shinobi world is Uchiha Madara, so naturally, he wouldn't be foolish enough to admit that he knew Hyuga Kuroto in person and is a former classmate of the person in question. And now that he has confirmed that Hyuga Kuroto is the sensei of this child in front of him, suddenly a plan cooked up in his mind. After their last action against the 5 great shinobi villages and the battles against the 5 great villages, the Akatsuki organization is facing the threat of Amatsukami more and more squarely. The situation has gotten to the point that it wouldn't even be wrong to say that all members of the Akatsuki, including him and Nagato, have listed Amatsukami as the greatest threat to their goals. Even among the members of the Amatsukami, their leader Yama in particular is the most feared, a guy who can literally drop meteorites from outer space. And the other members such as Fujin and the 2 Homusubi are no less of a threat. Madara understands this most deeply, as he has personally experienced the horror of the 3 of them, once killed by the female Homusubi, then killed by Fujin, and later sealed by the other Homusubi. After tasting so many defeats, it can be said that among the currently known members of Amatsukami, except for their leader Yama and Suijin, the others have already brushed up the achievement of being able to kill or trap Uchiha Madara. Therefore, among all the members of the Akatsuki, Madara is more desperate than anyone. He really wants to root out the Amatsukami, but they have no lead on the said organization because of the mysterious fog surrounding it. Amatsukami is so mysterious that no matter what Akatsuki tries, they are unable to collect any information on them. However, after their failure this time, the Akatsuki decided to change its approach. Judging from the events on that night, the Amatsukami sent Fujin to intervene as soon as their side took the initiative. This undoubtedly shows that Amatsukami has reached some kind of agreement with Konoha in private. Why Konoha and not the other shinobi villages? It's because Akatsuki already has spies in other villages, yet they have found nothing about the Amatsukami, so it can only mean that Amatsukami is only in contact with Konoha, not the other villages. In other words, Konoha must have some kind of intelligence about Amatsukami. If the Akatsuki is unable to collect intelligence on Amatsukami from any other source, then it might be time for them to start with Konoha. As far as Madara knows, The guy Hyuga Kuroto is the leader of a special Anbu unit that responds only and directly to the Hokage. So, as a highly trusted subordinate of the Hokage, Hyuga Kuroto must have some intelligence on the Amatsukami. And Madara plans to use Hyuga Kuroto to gain intelligence on the Amatsukami. If I threaten him with his disciple, will he betray the village? Muttered Madara as he tried to remember everything. He knew about the person named Hyuga Kuroto from his memories. In their academy days, perhaps because of their poor practical abilities, the relationship between Obito and Kuroto, although couldn't exactly be regarded as a close friendship, two of them could still be considered acquaintances who were somewhat familiar with each other. Therefore, Madara believes that he still knows a thing or two about Hyuga Kuroto. In his eyes, Kuroto has a taciturn personality, and occasionally he might make one or two jokes if he is in good mood. As for the strength of Hyuga Kuroto, no matter how strong that guy has managed to become in the past few years, will he still be strong enough to match against his full-body Susanoo and double Kamui?